I checked the tent. My friends were gone. I'm not really sure how to even start this. I haven't told anyone. Not the cops, not my parents, not even some Reddit post hiding under a throwaway account. I thought if I ignored it, it would go away, like some bad dream that eventually fades when you get busy with life. But it's been months, and I can still hear the zipper. We were up in the North Cascades, late fall. Should have been snow by then, but we caught this weird warm spell, like one last gasp of summer that wasn't supposed to be there. Dry days, cold nights, perfect for camping, right? Me, my buddy Chris, his girlfriend Taylor, and our friend Mitch. 4 of us crammed into Chris's old Subaru Outback, loaded up with REI gear and a bunch of cheap shit from Walmart that we all pretended was just as good. Taylor had found this trail on some random backpacking blog. Not one of the big name spots like Kolchak or Sahale. This was off the beaten path. A 6-mile hike out to a backcountry lake nobody ever talks about. No bathrooms, no rangers, no cell service. Just a few scattered campsites and woods that felt too quiet. You get used to certain sounds in the woods. The rustling of small animals, the occasional cracking branch. But this place was dead silent. No birds, no squirrels, no wind through the trees, just the sound of our boots on wet leaves. The first red flag should have been the truck. We passed it about a mile before we reached the lake. An old Ford F-150, probably from the 80s. Rusted out, moss climbing up the tires like the forest was trying to swallow it. The driver's side window was half down. There were crushed beer cans in the bed. A stained sleeping bag wadded up like trash. And the smell, piss and wet dog, but no one around. "I'm not loving this," Mitch had said, trying to sound casual. But he was already scanning the trees. Chris shrugged it off. Probably a hunter or some weirdo who lives off-grid. We'll be fine. I wanted to believe that. We set up camp at the far end of the lake. You couldn't even see the truck from there. Thick trees wrapped around the shore, and the water was so still it looked fake, like glass. The sun dipped fast behind the ridge, and the temp dropped with it. We got a fire going, passed around a bottle of whiskey, and for a while it felt like any other trip. But then the noises started. It wasn't animals. This was different. Sticks snapping in pairs. Not random cracks. No, it was rhythmic. Step, step, stop. Wait a few minutes. Then again. Step, step, stop. It circled us, always just out of sight. "Probably deer," Taylor said, hugging her knees, but her voice was tight. "Deer don't stalk people in circles," I muttered. Chris shot me a look, like I was the arsehole for pointing it out. We stayed up late, keeping the fire big and loud. But you can't burn fear away. At some point, exhaustion wins. We crawled into the tent, the 4 of us squeezed together, wrapped in our sleeping bags, trying to pretend we weren't listening for footsteps. Chris had a cheap headlamp, the kind you get in a Costco multi-pack. He left it on, its weak beam flickering against the nylon ceiling. I stared at it for what felt like hours. And then the zipper sound, soft, deliberate, somewhere outside. We all froze. No one said a word. It wasn't our tent. The sound came from deeper in the trees, maybe 100 feet away, slow, careful. Someone was unzipping something. Did anyone else hear that? Mitch whispered. Shut up, Chris hissed back. Another zipper sound, closer this time. And then, nothing. I don't remember falling asleep. I think my body just gave out. But when I woke up, the first thing I noticed was the silence. Not a single bird call. Not even the wind. The second thing I noticed was the tent door. It was wide open. Cold air rushed in. My sleeping bag was damp with condensation. But the worst part, the part that made my stomach flip, was the boot print right at the entrance. It wasn't ours. Too big. Heavy tread. Caked with mud we hadn't walked through. I scrambled out of the tent, heart hammering. Chris's backpack was gone. So was Mitch's. Taylor's puffy jacket, the one she'd been sitting on last night, was missing too. But there were no other signs, no trash disturbed, no food stolen. Just certain things selected carefully. I checked the tree line. Nothing. But I swear I could feel eyes on me. I called for Chris, for Mitch, for Taylor. No answer. And then, far off, came the zipper sound again. This time it wasn't soft. It was tearing through the woods, slow and cruel, like someone wanted me to hear it. And I knew, in that awful sinking moment, I wasn't alone. I don't even remember standing up. 1 second I was on my knees in the dirt, staring at that boot print. And the next I was stumbling toward the trees, shouting their names. Chris, Mitch, Taylor. Nothing. My voice just got swallowed by the woods. No echo, no rustling, nothing. Like the trees didn't want to give it back. And then came this horrible realization. There was no trail of footprints. Just that one boot print by the tent. No scuff marks, no drag lines, no broken twigs. The ground was soft enough to hold a clear impression, but nothing else. Like whoever took them had floated in and out. Or worse, like they'd walked away willingly. My hands were shaking so bad I could barely get my phone out of my pocket. No bars. Of course. Dumb instinct, but you still try, right? Just in case some magical signal pops up to save you. I spun around trying to orient myself. The lake was maybe 40 yards to my left. Our dead fire pit was smoking faintly. My REI backpack was right where I left it. Still zipped. But theirs, gone. It didn't make sense. If this was a bear, it would have torn through everything. If it was theft, why leave my pack? That's when I saw it. Across the lake. Other side of the shore. A man. Or, I think it was a man. He was standing so still, like part of the tree line, you'd miss him if you blinked. But once you saw him, you couldn't unsee him. Tall, bulky, wearing some kind of dark jacket, maybe Carhartt. His face was too far away to make out, but he was looking right at me. Not moving, not hiding, just watching. I stood there frozen. My mouth went dry. For some reason, I kept glancing back at the tent. Like if I stared long enough, my friends would just reappear. Like this was all a prank. But when I looked back across the lake, he was gone. I should have run. God, I should have just grabbed my pack and bolted down the trail. But instead, I grabbed the hatchet Chris had left by the fire pit and started towards the tree line. Why? I don't know. Stupid. But my friends were out there. The forest felt wrong, like walking into a place you're not supposed to be. Every branch seemed to lean in closer. The air felt thicker, colder. My breath was loud, and every footstep sounded like I was shouting. And then I saw the jacket. Taylor's puffy jacket. It was hanging on a branch about shoulder height, carefully draped, not tossed or snagged, almost like someone put it there for me to find. That's when my brain started screaming trap. I turned around to head back to camp, but I stopped dead in my tracks. Another boot print. This one was fresh. The edges were still crumbling, the tread was sharp, and it was facing me. No other prints around it, just that one. I can't explain the dread that crawled up my spine. It wasn't just fear, it was this suffocating, primal certainty that something was playing with me, like a cat with a cornered mouse. My heart was pounding so loud I could hear it in my ears. I gripped the hatchet tighter and backed away. Then I heard it again. The zipper. But this time, it was behind me. Slow, long, right at ear level. I spun around, swinging the hatchet wildly. Nothing there, but I could still hear it. Unzipping, like a whisper curling around the trees. I stumbled back into camp, half expecting to see the guy standing by my tent. But it was empty, still open, still violated. I grabbed my backpack, barely managing to shoulder it with my shaking arms. I wasn't thinking straight anymore. My plan was simple. Get back to the trailhead, get in the Subaru, and drive until my knuckles turned white. But as I turned toward the trail, something stopped me cold. There was a piece of paper on my sleeping bag, a plain sheet of printer paper. It hadn't been there before. I know that for a fact, because I'd sat right there staring at that sleeping bag, trying not to cry. My throat closed up as I bent down to pick it up. There was no message, no threat, just a crude drawing in thick black Sharpie. It was a tent, with 3 X's inside it, and outside the tent a little stick figure holding something that looked an awful lot like a hatchet. My hands went numb. The drawing started to blur because I was shaking so hard. They knew. They'd been here. They were probably still here. I dropped the paper like it burned me. Then I heard a branch snap. Close. Too close. I didn't look back. I ran. The trail was narrow and winding, cutting through dense underbrush. I tripped twice, smashing my knee on a rock. Didn't stop. Couldn't stop. The worst part? The sound of footsteps, not running, not crashing through the woods, just walking, slow, steady, like they had all the time in the world, like they wanted me to hear them. I was 2 miles in when I finally dared to look back, and that's when I saw him, standing right in the middle of the trail. No mask, no weapon, just a face I recognized. But it couldn't be, because it was Chris. But his eyes, they weren't right. He smiled and started to unzip his jacket. I wish I could tell you I held my ground, that I stood there, gripped my hatchet and demanded answers, but I didn't. I ran. I don't even think my brain processed it as Chris. My legs took over. Pure animal panic. Fight wasn't even an option, just flight. That smile, it wasn't his. It was like his face remembered how to smile, but not why. It was too wide, too slow, like he was practicing it. And the way he unzipped his jacket, like it was part of some sick ritual, methodical, dragging it out like a zipper shouldn't sound that loud, but it did. I tore down the trail, ducking under branches, scraping my hands raw against trees as I stumbled forward. The footsteps didn't follow, not yet, but the woods felt tighter now, like they were bending toward me, funneling me somewhere. At some point, the trail split. Left was the way we'd come. Right was, I don't know. An old hunting path maybe, not marked, but it felt safer than going back toward him. I took the right. The ground was uneven, roots jutting up like ribs. Every step was a gamble. I could hear something off to my left, parallel to me, not crashing through the brush, just pacing me, keeping me in its sights. The trail opened into a small clearing. In the center was a fire ring made of stones long dead, blackened logs for sitting, old cigarette butts and a rusted can of Keystone Light crushed flat. Whoever had camped here, it had been a while, but that wasn't what made my stomach turn. It was the tarp, a blue plastic tarp staked down with something bulky underneath it, not moving, but the shape was wrong, too long, too human. My legs slowed down against every instinct. Curiosity's a bitch that way. You don't want to look, but you have to. Because if you don't look, your brain invents worse things. I crept toward it. The tarp was clean, too clean. No dirt, no leaves on it, like someone had set it up minutes before, like it was meant for me. I crouched, fingers hovering over the edge. Then, from the trees, a voice, low, familiar. Don't. My breath locked in my throat. It was Mitch's voice, but it wasn't right. Too flat, like a recording being played back wrong. Slower, stretched, dragging the word out. Don't. I jerked up, spinning around, hatchet raised. Nobody there, but something moved in the shadows, just out of reach. I could feel the weight of eyes on me, not just one person, more. That's when I noticed the trees, carvings, deep into the bark, like someone had spent hours, days maybe, etching them. Names, dates, symbols I didn't recognize. Some were just X's, dozens of X's, overlapping, tangled, and beneath one of them, fresh, raw, was my name. Not Chris, not Mitch, not Taylor. My name. I stumbled back, hit the tarp with my foot. It shifted. Something thudded underneath. That's when the zipper sound started again. Not from one place this time, from all around me, like the forest itself was unzipping. I bolted. Didn't think, just ran. The woods felt different now, wrong angles, paths that shouldn't exist. It felt like I was being herded. Every time I tried to turn back toward the main trail, a shape would block me. Not running, just standing, watching, always half hidden. Faces I knew, faces I didn't. Taylor, or something that looked like her, peeking from behind a tree, her eyes glassy, unfocused. A man in a faded orange hunting vest, face smeared with dirt, grinning ear to ear. Another guy, skinny, shirtless despite the cold, crouching low, arms too long, head cocked to the side like a curious dog. All silent, all staring. Every time I blinked, they seemed closer. I don't know how long I ran, minutes, hours. At some point, I broke through the trees onto a dirt road. Not the one we came in on. This was narrower, overgrown, probably used by hunters or logging trucks decades ago. But in that moment, it was a lifeline. I turned left. No idea why. Just picked a direction and went. I was maybe 100 yards in when I heard it again. The zipper. This time it was right behind me. I spun, hatchet raised, expecting to see Chris, or Mitch, or worse. But it wasn't them. It was a man crouched in the middle of the road, wearing my backpack, grinning. His hands were working the zipper up and down, slow and steady, like he was tuning an instrument. He was older, 40, maybe 50, weathered face, scraggly beard, pale skin. His eyes. God, his eyes. No hate in them, no rage. Just this blank, hungry curiosity. "Good pack," he rasped, voice dry as dead leaves. "Real nice fit." I didn't say anything, didn't move, because behind him, stepping out of the trees, came more of them. Taylor, Chris, Mitch, all wrong. Too slow, too stiff, like puppets. Their faces slack, mouths twitching like they were trying to remember how to smile. The man unzipped my pack one final time, reached in, pulled out my knife, held it up like a prize, and said, almost cheerfully, "Let's unzip you next." That was it. I ran. I don't know how I outran them. I don't know how I made it back to the car. I don't even remember the drive down the mountain. But I know this. The tent was never zipped closed when I woke up. The boot print wasn't alone. And somewhere out there, my name still carved into that tree. Still waiting. I didn't stop driving until I saw other cars. Houses, people, civilization. The entire time, my knuckles were white on the wheel. The Subaru's cabin smelled like sweat and fear. My ears were ringing, like I'd been too close to a blast. I kept checking the rearview mirror, fully expecting to see that man, that thing, sitting upright in the back seat, zipper still dragging down. But there was nothing. I made it to a gas station off Highway 20, somewhere near Marble Mount. You know the kind, old pumps, flickering sign, gravel lot. A place where time moves slower. I pulled in hard, brakes screeching, nearly clipping the pump. I sat there for a minute, just breathing, shaking. That's when the first real wave hit. My friends were gone. I wasn't sure if they were dead, or worse, but I left them. I ran. I stumbled into the station, probably looking like a lunatic. Mud-streaked, eyes wide, hatchet still dangling from my hand. The guy behind the counter, maybe 60, Vietnam vet vibes, looked up slow, chewing his lip like he'd seen this before. "You lost?" he asked, voice low. I opened my mouth. Nothing came out. My friends, they're still up there. Some guys," I choked, wiped my mouth, tried again. "There was a man. He took them. They're not right, please, you have to call someone." He didn't move, just kept chewing his lip. Then he said something that made my blood freeze. "Up near Rock Creek Lake?" I nodded, too stunned to ask how he knew. He sighed, leaned back, and grabbed a cigarette from behind the counter. Lit it with a match, real slow. "You should have kept driving." He didn't call the cops, didn't pick up the phone, just sat there, puffing smoke like this was routine. I slammed my fists on the counter. "What the fuck, man? Call someone. They're still out there." but he just shook his head. You think this is the first time some kids went missing up there? First time some scared arsehole came running in here, babbling about folks in the woods? He flicked ash into a stained mug. Ain't no cavalry coming. That place, it don't let go. Best thing you can do? Leave. Forget. Or it'll come for you next. I wanted to punch him. I wanted to drag him out there and make him see. But deep down, I knew he wasn't wrong. People disappear in places like that all the time. And most of the time, no one really looks. He stood up, slow, walked around the counter. His boots scraped against the grimy tile. He stopped inches from me, eyes locked on mine. You hear it yet? He asked quietly. I frowned. Hear what? His lips curled in a sad, almost pitying smile. The zipper. At first, I thought he was just being an arsehole, trying to mess with me, but then, like some sick magic trick, I did hear it. Faint. From outside. From the back of the Subaru. That slow, deliberate zip. I spun around, bolted out the door. The parking lot was empty. No other cars. No movement. But the sound was there. Unmistakable. I crept toward the Subaru, heart jackhammering. The rear hatch was slightly ajar. I hadn't left it open. I was sure of that. I gripped the hatchet tighter, slid my hand up to the handle and flung the hatch open. Nothing. No one was there. But my gear was rearranged. Subtle things. My sleeping bag was unrolled. My stove was out. The bear canister, open. But worst of all, that same piece of paper, folded neatly on the cargo mat. I reached for it, fingers trembling, unfolded it. Another drawing. This time it was me. Stick figure. Small, surrounded by tall stick figures with X's for eyes. And above me a crude tent shape, its zipper stretched wide with hands reaching out. But there was something else. A new word, scrawled in jagged letters beneath the drawing. Next. That broke me. I slammed the hatch shut, jumped into the driver's seat and peeled out of that parking lot, gravel spraying behind me. The guy at the station didn't flinch, just watched me go, cigarette glowing. For the next 2 hours I drove like hell, but no matter how far I got, I couldn't shake the feeling of being followed. Cars behind me lingered too long. Every rest stop felt like a trap. Every shadow in the rearview mirror was a silhouette waiting to unzip. That night I checked into a cheap motel, the kind where the AC rattles and the sheets feel like plastic. I barricaded the door with the desk, propped a chair under the knob, slept with the hatchet on the pillow. But sleep didn't come easy, because in the silence of that shitty little room I heard it again, faint, inside my own head. It was driving me insane. At one point I swore I saw the curtain twitch, like someone's fingers had brushed it aside, just enough to watch me. I snapped. I tore open the curtain, hatchet raised. Empty parking lot. But taped to the window on the outside was another piece of paper. I ripped it down. Another drawing. This time no stick figures. Just a tent. Unzipped. But instead of people inside, there was only darkness. And at the bottom, 3 words scratched deep into the paper. Check again tomorrow. I staggered back, slumped against the bed, head in my hands. This wasn't over. They weren't done with me. I hadn't escaped. I'd just been given a head start. And somewhere out there in the woods, my friends were still waiting, still unzipping, still watching. I didn't sleep that night, because every time I closed my eyes, I heard it. Zzz. By morning, I was a ghost of myself. I sat on the edge of that motel bed, hatchet dangling from my fingers, staring at the last scrap of paper. Check again tomorrow. No phone calls, no messages, nothing from the outside world. I didn't even try to tell anyone. Because somewhere between the woods and that gas station, the part of my brain that believed in help broke. They weren't just stalking me out there. They followed me back. No footsteps, no broken windows, just this creeping, quiet infection. They didn't need to knock. They were already inside. I don't even remember deciding to go back. 1 second I was sitting there. Next, I was in the Subaru, keys in the ignition, hands on the wheel. Like I'd been steered into it, like they decided for me. The drive back up into the Cascades was a blur. Clouds hung low, swallowing the peaks. The road felt narrower. Every twist and turn was lined with trees leaning in, watching. No music, no podcasts, just the engine's hum and that damn zipper sound that wouldn't leave my head. The old Ford F-150 was still there, same spot. But now the driver's door was wide open and the cab was empty. I should have left. God knows I should have. But my body wasn't listening. I parked a few 100 feet up the road, grabbed my hatchet, double-checked my knife, and I started walking. The trail felt different now, wrong, like it remembered me. Each step sounded louder, each breath fogged out in front of me like a warning sign. But I wasn't alone. About half a mile in, I saw movement. Off the trail, hunched low. It was Taylor, or someone wearing what was left of her. Her jacket was shredded, hanging in ribbons. Her hair was matted, streaked with mud and pine needles. But it was her face that broke me. She wasn't blinking, wasn't breathing right. Her mouth was stuck halfway open, lips twitching like she was trying to form words but forgot how. And her hands, God. Her hands kept miming the same motion over and over, unzipping, grasping an invisible zipper in the air, right at chest level, pulling it down in slow, trembling jerks. She didn't react to me, didn't look at me. But when I whispered her name, her head snapped up so fast it made my stomach flip. And she smiled. That same awful smile. I backed away, heart in my throat. From the corner of my eye, I caught more figures. Chris, Mitch. Both of them crouched low, hands working invisible zippers, faces slack and broken, like they were stuck on a loop. Puppets with tangled strings. I should have run. But there was something behind me. A click, like metal against bone. Then the voice. That's better. Low, calm, almost proud. I turned slowly. It was the man from before. Beard like wire, eyes like frostbitten skin, pale and cracked. He was holding my knife again, but he wasn't looking at me. He was looking through me, like I was the last piece of some ugly puzzle. You brought yourself back, he said, stepping closer. Most don't. Most need pushing. But you listened. He reached into his coat, pulled out another piece of paper, let it flutter to the ground. I didn't pick it up. I didn't need to, because the zipper sound was getting louder, everywhere, all around me. Not footsteps, not wind, just zippers, tents unzipping, jackets unzipping, skin unzipping. You feel it, don't you? He asked, voice soft. That little pull, right down the middle, and then, with the slowest, most deliberate motion, he traced a line from his throat to his belly button with the tip of my knife, unzipping himself. No blood, no wound, but the sound was deafening. Zip. I staggered back. Taylor moved. Not lunging, not attacking, just walking toward me. Her fingers kept grasping at the air, miming the motion, but now her real zipper was sliding down. Her jacket fell open. Underneath, her shirt was gone. And carved into her chest, from collarbone to navel, was a line of X's. Fresh, deep, bleeding. Chris followed, unzipping his hoodie. Same X's, same ritual. They stopped a few feet from me. Mitch didn't unzip. He just crouched, twitching, like his strings had been cut. The man smiled wider. You're almost ready. I lifted the hatchet. Not because I thought I could fight, but because it was all I had. You're not taking me, I said, though my voice cracked like dry wood. He tilted his head. Taking you? No, no, no. You don't understand. We don't take anyone. He knelt, picked up the paper he'd dropped, held it up for me to see. There were no stick figures this time, just a crude drawing of a tent, and beneath it, a name. My name. And below that, the words, unzip yourself. The zipper sound crescendoed. It wasn't in my ears anymore. It was inside me. My chest felt tight, like my sternum was splitting, like there was a zipper beneath my skin, waiting for someone to pull it open. No, I whispered. No, no, no. But my fingers twitched. They started to mimic it, reaching up, grasping at nothing, trying to find that invisible zipper pull. You feel it, the man said, almost lovingly. That's the way home. I was losing my body, losing myself. But somewhere deep in that panic, a flicker of rage sparked. I wasn't going to unzip. If they wanted me open, they'd have to tear me apart. With everything I had left, I swung the hatchet. Not at the man, not at Taylor, but at me. I brought it down on my thigh. The pain was blinding, white hot, raw. It grounded me, snapped me back into my body. The zipper sound faltered. The man's smile faltered. Taylor stopped moving. Chris twitched. I didn't wait. Limping, bleeding, screaming, I ran. I didn't stop until the air changed, until the woods lost that suffocating closeness, until I burst out onto the gravel lot where the Subaru sat. Door still open. I don't know how I got back down the mountain. Don't remember driving. But I know this. The zipper sound is quieter now. Still there, but muffled, like it's waiting, because I never unzipped. But they're still watching. And somewhere out there, there's a tent with my name on it. Still unzipped, still open, still hungry. It's been 6 months. I moved. New state, new job, new name even. Doesn't matter. You can't outrun something once it's inside you, once you've heard it. I hear it when I'm alone. Quiet places, elevators, empty stairwells, parking garages after dark. Zip. Not loud anymore, just under the skin, like a heartbeat that doesn't belong to me. I've given up pretending it was all in my head, because they're still with me. I see them sometimes. Reflections mostly. In shop windows, bathroom mirrors, always standing just behind me, not moving, not blinking, just watching. Taylor, Chris, Mitch, their faces frozen in that slack-jawed, twitching smile. And him, that old man with the frost-bitten eyes, still tracing that invisible line down his chest. Every time it's the same. They don't speak. They don't move. But when I blink, when I dare to look away, there's always something left behind. A scrap of paper, same crude drawings, the tent, the X's, and always my name. A few weeks ago, I found one wedged under my windshield wiper. Middle of downtown, broad daylight. Unzip yourself. Last week, another. Slipped into my mailbox, folded like a utility bill. This time a little different. A stick figure. Me. Standing next to an open tent. But now there was something coming out of the tent. Long, thin hands. Grabbing. And underneath, you left it open. That's when I understood. That night at Rock Creek Lake when I woke up and saw the tent door wide open. That wasn't them inviting themselves in. That was me inviting them out. I didn't zip it closed. I left it open. I let them out. And now they're mine. My shadow. My burden. I don't sleep much anymore. When I do, the dreams are always the same. I'm standing in that same clearing. The tarp's still there. But now, it's not hiding anything. It's a door. And beneath it, the zipper keeps opening. Keeps pulling wider. I never see what's inside. But I know it's not empty. Never was. Last night was different though, because when I woke up, my bedroom window was open. The cold air was pouring in. And taped to the glass, flapping in the breeze, was another note. But no stick figures this time. Just words. 3 of them. Scrawled in that same shaky black marker. Time to zip. No signature. No X's. Just that. I've been sitting here for hours, hatchet in my lap, staring at that note. Because I know what they want. They're done playing. No more drawings. No more warnings. It's an invitation. A command. Unzip yourself. I can feel it in my hands now. That twitch. That urge. To reach up. To grab that invisible pull tab right beneath my throat. And drag it down. To finally see what's been trying to get out. But I won't. Because if I do, it doesn't stop with me. It keeps going. Spreading. It'll find you. And I wouldn't wish that on anyone. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to pack my gear. I'm going back. Back to Rock Creek Lake. Back to the tent. And this time I'm going to zip it closed. No matter what it costs me. If you're reading this, if this story finds you somehow, don't follow me. Don't go looking, because once you hear it, it never stops. Zip! Just like that. Quiet, persistent, hungry. And you'll realise too late. You never really left the tent. You just left it open. The end.